Until 1991, the Judds were the best mother-daughter duet in country music. After that, they didn't talk for years. People thought it was because Naomi was sick, but that wasn't the case. A therapy session that got out in 2010 showed something shocking. Wynonna found out a family secret that transformed everything she thought she knew about herself. It has nothing to do with hepatitis C or celebrity. It was about lies that had been going on for 30 years. Naomi's kid was so hurt by what she kept from her that it broke their link. Naomi Judd was born on January 11, 1946, in Ashland, Kentucky. Her name at birth was Diana Ellen Judd. And from the very beginning, her life went in directions she never thought it would. She lived in a middle-class home, but her parents couldn't catch the money that went through the cracks. The family had to keep migrating around the South to stay alive. Charles, her father, worked long hours at a petrol station, while her mother stayed home and prayed that the bills would stay low. The stress continued building up, though. But everything changed when Naomi was just 3. She got polio on a family trip and had to stay in the hospital for a whole year. The sickness made her left foot half paralyzed. Even after she learned to walk again, the limp stayed with her as a silent reminder. It made her strong-willed. But it also made her self-conscious, a mix that stayed with her as she grew up and affected how she loved, trusted, and fought for her position in the world. In 1961, when she was 15 years old, she was already making choices that were much too big for her. She found out she was pregnant, music, and was told to leave school and home. In a shotgun wedding in Jaya, Florida, she married her high school beau, Michael Simonella. Christina Claire Simonella, who later changed her name to Wynonna, was born on May 30, 1964, in Ashland. Naomi tried to keep her ambitions alive, but every time she worked as a waitress or part-time worker, she was reminded of how far away college was. Behind the smiles she showed other people. She disguised the bruises from Michael's beatings. She didn't say anything since young women in the 1960s were trained to hide their grief. Those years changed her in ways she rarely talked about. They left habits that came back in later relationships and taught her that sometimes survival requires hiding the truth. Ashley Tyler Simonella, her second daughter, was born in Los Angeles in 1968. Michael had to move for work, but the violence followed them there as well. The marriage finally fell apart in 1972. Naomi left with her girls when she was 26, taking with her everything she possessed and everything she was afraid of. Being a single mother was hard. She took any job she could find, even if it meant being judged by her neighbors who talked about her behind her back. She said those years were like a war for survival. Every morning, she got up with only her resolve and the hope that her girls would one day witness how strong she was. Those tough days helped her become ready for her future job. They taught her how to be tough, and it formed the heart of her music. Nona was born on May 30, 1964, and she spent her first 18 years learning what it was like to live in a storm. Naomi worked as a secretary and a nurse's aide, but the family had to move every time she got a new job. They had moved 22 times by the time Wynonna turned 18. She lived in Los Angeles, Kentucky, and even in crazy communes in California. She was always the new child when she walked into a new school. She never stayed long enough to get to know anyone well. It made her able to fit in anywhere, but it also made her feel like she never really belonged. In 1972, her childhood came to an end when her parents' marriage ended in a terrible way. Naomi ran away after a terrible attack. Anna took care of baby Ashley as Naomi experienced emotional breakdowns when Anna grew up virtually overnight. Later that year, they moved to Merrill, Kentucky. Naomi drove a school bus, and Wynonna went to a fundamentalist Baptist school. Then followed the shock that Naomi never told Wynonna about until she was an adult. The man Wynonna thought was her dad. She didn't have a biological father named Michael Simonella. Naomi had a relationship with Charles Jordan when she was a teenager. He was her true father. In her 30s, while in therapy, Wynonna learned the truth. It broke her sense of self and sent her into years of confusion that impacted her music and her fight to figure out who she really was. In 1979, when Naomi got hepatitis C from a tainted blood transfusion amid difficulties from Ashley's delivery, money troubles reached a breaking point. It happened at a period when hepatitis C was severely stigmatized and not many people knew what it was. While she was trying to raise her daughters, she fought the virus. The disease made her muscles hurt so much that she couldn't move and made her very sad. When Wynonna was only 15 and saw her mother fall apart, Naomi would lock her out of the house during dramatic outbursts. The diagnosis meant that Naomi had to quit a lot of her jobs, which made them further poorer. Everyone in the family was scared that she might die. Years later, Naomi became a spokesman for the American Liver Foundation, which helped thousands of people learn about the disease. But the personal cost to her daughters never went away. In 1980, everything changed. Naomi was 34 years old and working as a nurse in Ashland when she felt something move inside her during a church session. It made her persuade Wynonna, who was 16, to drop out of school and start a music group with her. They drove to Nashville in a beat-up Oldsmobile and slept in the car outside gas stations while looking for work. In 1981, they played their debut show during an open mic night at a laundromat. That night, Naomi scrawled a dream on a serviette. Later, they made a recording for RCA Records. Naomi cleaned houses to make ends meet. People believe she used to clean for Reba McEntire's family. A story that goes around Nashville like a secret between musicians. Wynonna left high school to fulfill this goal. People in the area made fun of them for their old clothes and nicknamed them trailer trash, yet they kept getting turned down. Before their demo of Wynonna got to Tony Brown at RCA, they had to go through 20 record labels. One listen to Nana's rough voice and Naomi's storytelling lyrics changed everything. Their first song, Had a Dream, was out in December 1983. On the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, it peaked at number 17, and on the Canadian RPM Country Tracks chart, it peaked at number 15. But the big break came in August 1984, when Mama He's Crazy reached the top of Billboard's Hot Country Singles chart and stayed there for 23 weeks. Kenny Odell penned it, and Brent Maher made it. They called it the song that defined the Judds. In 1985, it won the Grammy for Best Country Performance by a duet or group with vocals. This was their first of 5 Grammys. They became the second all-female duo to ever reach the top of the Billboard Hot Country Songs list. People could relate to the lyrics because they were about Naomi's life as a single mother. Things were not peaceful behind the curtain, though. Early tours pushed both women to their utmost. Naomi was anxious that Wynonna's image may affect their careers, so she made sure her daughter ate just what she wanted. Later, Wynonna said that Naomi's shaming of her for gaining weight during difficult tours led to her first eating disorder. The more famous they got, the more stress there was. They practiced in laundrettes, slept in vehicles, and were always under a lot of stress. Naomi's willpower and Wynonna's defiance collided over and over. Their outward grins veiled hidden wounds that made their relationship more difficult than fans ever saw. The Judds were getting so popular in 1984 that it seemed like the whole country music world was leaning towards them. On October 15, 1984, their album Wynonna came out. And when it hit the shelves, things changed. It was recorded in Nashville's Creative Workshop, but the sound traveled well beyond those boundaries. In just a few months, it reached number 1 on the Billboard Top Country Albums chart and stayed there for 3 weeks in early 1985. It then refused to depart the charts for 195 weeks. It was certified gold for selling 500,000 copies on April 4, 1985. By April 25, 1986, it had sold more than 1 million copies and was already platinum. Eventually, it sold more than 2 million copies in the US. The title single Girls' Night Out and Love Is Alive both reached number 1. Naomi Judd co-wrote the title song with Heron Howard and son Annie Throckmorton. She drew on pain she had seen, felt, and lived through. The CMA Horizon Award, Music, for the album's success made them the most popular act in Nashville. As that fire developed, it impacted the course of female acts that came after. The next year, they took that fire on the road. The Judds started the Judds Roadshow Tour in 1985. It was their first big headlining tour with more than 100 shows all across the country. The crowds continued getting bigger. People were saying that Wynonna's voice was as powerful as Patti Clean's, and her voice filled arenas. Naomi's jokes kept the crowd smiling, which made each presentation feel unique. The tour developed up a fan base that followed them from city to city. There were always tour buses on the road. The radio stations continued calling. There were a lot of shows in some weeks. And that speed pushed them to their limits. From the outside, though, everything still seemed good. But the 1985 ACM Awards altered everything. Behind the scenes, Naomi Judd fell down all of a sudden. The stress and tiredness finally got to her. When Wynonna got to Naomi, she stated that she was going through her first serious depressive episode. Fame came quickly, and it felt heavier than she had thought it would. It made it hard for her to breathe. It made normal times seem impossible. Later, she would talk openly about the dark. But that night was the start. Fans didn't see it the first time she stated it out loud. They only saw the fake smiles. But that moment opened a door and demonstrated how much achievement had cost. The Judds won all the country categories at the 1985 Grammys. They won Best Country Vocal Performance and Best Country Performance by a pair for Mama He's Crazy. People thought Naomi would smile. Instead, one of her acceptance speeches had a weird heaviness about it. She thanked God for bringing them out of the dark. The phrase sparked rumors about medicines and deeper problems. Naomi struggled with anxiety and despair so bad that even small things felt like climbing a mountain. The wins were bittersweet. The acclaim echoed, but so did the sorrow she was trying to disguise. The fissures got bigger when they went back into the studio. The sessions for Why Not Me were stressful. Naomi would sometimes change the solo parts of songs like Change of Heart without giving her daughter credit. Wynonna later said she felt like a puppet instead than a partner. Naomi's strong will and Wynonna's developing desire to find her own voice were at odds. There were fights all over the studio. Those arguments left behind feelings of anger that would last for years. Money simply made things worse. The Judds had made about $10 million from records, concerts, and endorsements by 1985. Naomi used a lot of it to buy a farm in Kentucky and to help Ashley pursue her acting career in Hollywood. When Anna felt left out, the accomplishment that should have brought them together only made the family's problems worse. Every choice made things worse, more stress, more stillness, and more distance. After then, Heartland came. The album came out in 1987 and went straight to number 1. Rockin' with the Rhythm of the Rain also hit number 1. The sparkle was clear to fans. They couldn't see what Naomi was hiding. She got hepatitis C years ago via a needle stick while working as a nurse, and by 1986 the symptoms were really bad. Tiredness, yellow skin, and muscle ache. She didn't tell anyone. She was afraid about the stigma. She was afraid of losing everything. She went through painful interferon treatments that felt like they were taking forever. She added that some days she felt like she was going to die. Still, she got up on stage next to Wynonna. The pair set records on their tour from 1986 to 1987. The tour made almost $20 million. Arenas full. Fireworks went off. But Wynonna was falling apart behind those flames. She had to deal with vocal strain, a lot of travel, and emotional exhaustion. Some evenings she could barely get out of bed. To maintain their performance sharp, Naomi made them practice for 18 hours a day. Wynonna didn't feel like a daughter, she felt like a machine. The stress made her fight with bulimia worse. She was breaking apart, but no one stopped long enough to see it. Another storm hit in 1987. Tabloids found out that Naomi used to be a hippie dropout in the 1970s. While living in communes, reports said she had used LSD. Naomi said publicly that she hadn't done drugs, but subsequently she said that she had used psychedelics and that they made her paranoid and anxious. People who liked the show were stunned. Her image had always been clean, neat, and good for you. She was quite offended by the narrative, especially because she was disguising her condition. Her past and present came together in front of everyone. But even with all of this going on around them, they kept winning. The Judds earned the CMA Entertainer of the Year award in 1987. Smiles on stage. The truth is backstage. Naomi told Wynonna that she had been having thoughts of killing herself. She said that the depression seemed like a weight that made every breath hard. The prize was a bittersweet crown on top of a life that felt like it was falling apart. Wynonna tried to go out on her own during the Heartland sessions. She wrote some of Turn It Loose and wants to do music on her own. Naomi said no. She emphasized that the family needed to be together. Wynonna thought it was another door shutting on her voice. The stress kept getting worse. There was silence between the songs. The CBS Christmas special from 1987 came next. It seemed like the perfect family on TV. Ashley had previously gone to Los Angeles at 15 since she couldn't stand living at home anymore. Naomi wrote the family scenes herself, keeping the facts hidden. Ashley later remarked that she felt like a ghost in her own house. The special was warm and bright. The genuine family was broken up and hurt. Anna's first solo song, Can't Nobody Love You, came out in 1988 under the Judds name. It didn't make the charts. The two were ashamed. Naomi publicly said the song was childish and criticized it. Their relationship suffered another hit when Anna felt embarrassed. This time in front of radio stations and reporters who could tell right away that there was tension. River of Time came out in 1989. It was a great smash with the public, with 4 #1 songs. Guardian Angel stood out because Naomi almost died from hepatitis. But success couldn't stop the fractures from getting bigger. When Anna lost it at a Madison Square Garden event, she yelled at Naomi on stage for stealing the show. The fight moved to the rear, and Anna walked off, yelling that it wasn't just Naomi's show anymore. After that, they asked for separate dressing rooms. Anna was arrested in Nashville for public intoxication during a pub fight that same year. Her blood alcohol level was 0.175. Naomi paid for her to get out of jail, but she wouldn't allow her undergo therapy. The codependents were deeper than ever, and they were both drowning in it. They thought Farm Aid 1989 would be their big win. They helped farmers who were having trouble get $9 million. But during the show, Naomi passed out because her liver hurt so much. She informed the news that it was the flu. No, it wasn't. She was battling liver illness and hepatitis C. They had to cancel 3 gigs because the collapse. It was also the start of her campaign to get others to know more about the disease whenever she finally went public. The Judds began their farewell tour in late 1991 with a weight that no one in the crowd could see at first. Naomi Judd had just said that she was fighting hepatitis C, which she received from a needle stick injury while she was a nurse in the 1980s. Doctors told her she only had 3 years to live, and it scared her so much that she quit right at the peak of her fame. The tour lasted 9 months and all 126 shows sold out. There were over 4 million fans there. It made $22.7 million and was the 3rd highest grossing tour in North America that year. The Grateful Dead and Zyd's Top made more money. People cried during the encores of Love Can Build a Bridge, a song Naomi penned while she was in a lot of pain but also had a lot of optimism. Her openness about her illness made others less afraid about hepatitis C all around the country. That last tour seemed like the conclusion of a chapter in country music, but it was also the start of a much harder one for their family. As the goodbye came to an end, another fact was slowly coming to light. They had secretly recorded their last album, The Last Word. It didn't come out until 2023. People ultimately found out what truly happened in that studio by then. Naomi deleted Wynonna's ad-libs on "Oh, I Apologize" during one session. It was a simple button on a console, but it was a big deal between them. Naomi wanted to be in charge. Wynonna wants to be free. Even when the mics were off, sparks flew. The record showed people what they had missed years later. On stage, they were gorgeous together, but behind the scenes, there was a fight between mother and daughter that never really ended. When fans eventually heard those songs, they were stunned because every note reminded them of a fight that no one knew about. In 1991, while getting ready for the tour, something more broke. A stolen medical file told Wynonna that her mother received electroshock therapy in the 1980s to address severe depression. Naomi never told her, not even once. Wynonna felt like she had been punched when she found out. She thought she had been deceived and forced to act like an adult too soon. Naomi reported that the therapies worked occasionally, but they sometimes made her forget things and have trouble concentrating. Fans saw the glitter and the spark, but they never saw the depression that followed Naomi from childhood through her career. That concealed truth devastated them much more, and it would follow them around in their music for years. In December 1991, the Judds' farewell concert was shown on HBO, a moment that was designed to end things with elegance. The stage lit up. The audience cheered. People at home cry when they see their farewell performance of Love Can Build a Bridge. But things fell apart rapidly behind the scenes. When Anna told Naomi that she liked Ashley more, Naomi shot back. After the concert, they didn't talk for a week. Fans saw love and closure on screen. Off-screen, rage and stillness fell in like fog that wouldn't go away. Not talking for a week made it seem like their relationship will get much worse in the future. In 1991, Naomi published her book, Love Can Build a Bridge, which sold over 500,000 copies. But the story inside didn't say anything. She wrote about her struggles, but she left out the worst portions. Wynonna didn't want to market it. She thought the book hid too much. At the same time, Wynonna's first solo album, She Is His Only Need, went to number 1 in 1992. Naomi wanted to honor her daughter. But she showed envy in interviews when she declared it was her songs and Wynonna's voice. Their professions were now going in different ways, and each step they took made them a little more apart. Naomi carefully told stories to construct her image, while Wynonna carried wounds that the world didn't know about yet. Naomi's fight against hepatitis C went on through the 2000s. She reported that the illness was getting better in 1998. In 2000, she wouldn't discuss about liver transplant prospects since she said Wynonna's bad energy was making her healing worse. There were confrontations between family members during their 1998 CBS reunion program. For years, Naomi wouldn't talk about medical issues. At the time, she also felt ashamed of having hepatitis C since others falsely connected it to moral failing. People thought she was a brave supporter. At home, fear and denial made things worse. Wynonna was in pain herself. Naomi's years of body shaming made her feel so bad about herself that she had gastric bypass surgery. She had blood clots in her lungs in 2010. Later, leaked treatment files showed that she had gained weight because of mental stress throughout her life. She reported she shed between 55 and 60 pounds after the procedure. But she still thought about the things people said that hurt her. People just found out the truth following her 2010 emergency. And all of a sudden, her silent pain made sense. It highlighted how hurtful a parent's remarks may be and how long the wounds can remain. Ashley Judd was making her own life away from the spotlight of Nashville. In 2007, she went to the Congo to fight sexual assault and talk about conflict minerals. She went into hospitals and refugee camps and told stories that most famous people were too scared to tell. But being so far from home made things even harder. Naomi told Wynonna that Ashley had left them. That comment made things even worse between them. Ashley shattered her leg in 4 places in 2020 while she was looking on endangered bonobos. That didn't stop her, though. She exploited the disaster to show how few medical resources there are in Congo. Still, Naomi's comments about not being there rang through the family and made the sisters even more distant. The Judds attempted again with a reunion tour in 2010, after Naomi had a liver transplant. Fans were enthusiastic, but things went wrong backstage. Wynonna told Naomi that she was faking being sick before a gig in Cincinnati. Naomi left, and the hush that followed lasted more than a year. Wynonna told People magazine that Naomi's refusal to go to therapy was breaking her heart. The tour went on, but just with Wynonna. The idea of healing fell apart right in front of the spectators. Later, Naomi admitted that the conflict broke her heart. The space between them became even further. Their reality program came out on OWN a year later, in 2011. The idea was to depict a new beginning. Instead, it showed their innermost pains. Naomi talked about her depression on television without telling Wynonna first. Wynonna felt like she had been surprised and left. Later, she told Oprah that it seemed like emotional pressure that was hiding his honesty. The producers were shocked. Fans saw pain that was so real it was hard to watch the performance. It only lasted one season, and it hurt both women much more. The truth came out, but it didn't, music, fix anything. It just demonstrated how bad things already were. That same year, the world found out that Naomi had been in the hospital because she was thinking of killing herself. Later, therapy sessions showed that she had tried to kill herself in the 1990s by taking too many drugs. Wynonna didn't know till those meetings. She said it was the last blow to the gut. Naomi said that her despair wasn't simply because of hepatitis music, but also because of years of pain and silence. That moment made it clear to everyone how hard her fight was. In 2012, Anna published her book, Restless, in which she spoke of singing through fevers, feeling pushed aside, and being a slave to the Judds brand. Naomi said in interviews that Wynonna was too sensitive. Their fight got known to the public. Fans couldn't believe it when two ladies who used to be friends started fighting in publications and on talk shows. The book did nicely. Their relationship did not get better. Naomi mentioned that by 2016 they were still a little distant. Therapy helped, but not enough. Wynonna put all of her efforts into her band, The Big Noise. That year, Naomi wrote River of Time, in which she talked about her fight with hepatitis and depression, but she never highlighted Wynonna's role in her recovery. People who liked it noticed. It felt like the last time it was erased. Wynonna never said anything in public, but her silence spoke everything. People termed it a last betrayal because the book didn't even mention Wynonna. The publishers said the tale was about them. Critics felt that leaving it out demonstrated how far apart they had grown. The book brought attention to Naomi's illness and her work as an advocate, but it also reminded everyone that the emotional distance between the family was continuously widening. They stood together during the Country Music Hall of Fame induction in 2017. For a little moment, it seemed like healing. But later that night, Naomi claimed that night opened old wounds. Nana missed all of the family holidays from 2010 to 2020, including Christmas and birthdays. Naomi talked about mental health in public, but private therapy sessions still didn't help. Their story kept reminding audiences that success may happen on stage while things go wrong at home. April 30, 2022, followed next. Naomi Judd died by suicide at the age of 76, one day before she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. The autopsy later confirmed that the gunshot wound was self-inflicted. Wynonna's eulogy at the Grand Ole Opry in May was the last time she spoke to her mother. "I love you." Ashley reported that Naomi's last text said, "Please help," and that she didn't want to be here longer. Naomi had talked freely about her PTSD and depression for years. But the world was nonetheless shocked by her passing. It proved once more how bad mental illness can be, even when someone is getting a lot of praise. Wynonna sued Naomi's estate for royalties in 2023. The battle was over who would own Naomi's song catalog. The trust named Larry Strickland as the executive, which made things worse between Wynonna and Ashley. After months of therapy and long talks, Wynonna dropped the lawsuit. She chose to get better. That choice showed how much anguish was still there, even though it wasn't obvious. Wynonna made her tale into a mission by 2025. Her Back to Wide tour honored Naomi's music and brought in over $1 million for suicide prevention. She talked about mental health and her own problems at every show. She told her fans to get help. She said, "Silence kills more people than sadness." Her voice was both sad and strong. In 2024, Ashley and Wynonna started a podcast called Naomi's Girls. They opened old doors and strolled through memories they had been avoiding. They talked of maltreatment as children, emotional neglect, and the stress of being famous. Ashley reported that when she was 7, she was raped. Wynonna commented about how hard it was for her not to know her biological father. They talked about how the music business that made them famous also broke up their friendship. People were moved by their honesty since it revealed that even prominent families have problems. The Judds have sold more than 200 million records and have 36 #1 hits. When they got there in 1983, they revolutionized the shape of country music. Their mixed voices set the standard for current duos. Their music inspired thousands, but their private lives showed that prosperity may cover up wounds that never entirely heal. In interviews from 2025, Wynonna declared that she would spend the rest of her life bringing attention to mental